Hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. Today, I'm joined by Rebecca Sopkin, a Colorado constitutional attorney and a board member for the TABOR Foundation, to talk about her picks for the judicial retention votes on this year's Colorado ballot. Well, Rebecca, I hope you are well, and thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Brandon.
Well, Rebecca, what's your methodology for deciding to retain a judge or not?
Well, I have previously worked on one of the judicial performance commissions and been kind of frustrated by the fact that pretty much all judges are recommended for retention. And maybe in a bit of retaliation for that, my uh, default is to vote no. Um, Partly because it's a protest vote, and very often nobody really cares. But I feel like somebody needs to vote no for these people. I mean, I do go through and look and at records, and there's always some exceptions to that. There are always people who I feel like, no, this is one I want to vote yes on. Yeah, so
Well,
that's
that's a
how I decide.
no great recommendation. I definitely agree with you. I think it's a good perspective to have to say, hey, I'm going to vote no unless I'm proven otherwise, unless I have good reason to vote to keep you on the bench there. So,
Yeah.
Rebecca, this year, who and why would you recommend a yes vote for?
Well, this year there's some unusual things going on where I think some of these judges, there's actually a reasonable chance some of them will actually not be retained. And so I think that makes these votes a little more important. Um, and I'm talking primarily about the Supreme Court justices. Um, there is an Amendment H on the ballots, which is wanting to change the way they evaluate and discipline judges. And that's because of some problems, some serious problems that have happened this year. And if somebody would like to watch to find out more about that, the Independence Institute did an interview with a Judge Dennis Mays. That's just fantastic because he's one of the people who put Amendment H on the ballot, and he explains why. And he's a retired judge, but because of that, so both of the and being a Tabor attorney, I have my own reasons for voting against Justice Marquez. She has just a long history of tormenting language to get it to do what she wants it to do, which is usually anti-Tabor. So there's no way I would have voted to retain her under any circumstances. Um, but of the, I am going to vote yes to retain Brian Boatwright. Now, this is the only one that I would say is just a partisan thing. He was appointed, he's was appointed by Hickenlooper, but he's a Republican. And he's more conservative than the other justices. And there are so few conservative justices that I just can't, I need to vote to retain him. But both of the other Supreme Court justices are definite no's. And like I said, there's a chance that that could actually, they might not be retained. Um, Now, some of the down ballot justices, sometimes there's a chance they won't be retained too. And the reason is a lot of people just abstain and don't vote. The farther down you get in the judges, the fewer votes they get at all, like either in favor or opposed. Um, so so first of all, some things you might want to look at if somebody wants to form their own opinions on there. There's a website called therobingroom.com, and that one really addresses more of the down ballot justices or judges, not justices. It doesn't address the Supreme Court, but it's got comments on there for people who've been in their courtroom. Now, as with like restaurant reviews, you have to realize unhappy people are going to leave more comments. That's just the way people are. Happy people tend to not say anything. So I think you can't just count how many comments are there pro and con. You need to actually read them. But when you read them and see a real pattern, and it's not just, she ruled against me, it's got to be more than that because judges are going to rule against people. That's their job. In any given case, they will be ruling against someone. So, But when you read the comments, I think that can really help, both plus and minus. Sometimes you're like, that sounds like a great judge. That's what I want my judges to be like, you know? And then the other thing I found is a place on the RockyMountainVoice.com, and they go through and talk. They reprint the stuff from the judicial evaluations, which is really not very helpful. But then they also add some additional material. So the quick answer is there were three that I am planning to vote for. One was Brian Boatwright, he was a Supreme Court justice. One is Jerry Jones, who is a district court judge. Um, and he's done a couple of things that I was really impressed with. One of them was there has been the Colorado Supreme Court had an opinion which called into question restitution orders. And many of the judges now are just denying all restitution orders. And Judge Jones is the only one I saw who was saying, no, we got to look at the facts on each one of these. And was the restitution order fairly done or not? And so I think that's really important. And then the other one was Bradley Allen Burbank. Now, depending on where people are, there are going to be different judges on their ballots because it depends on your jurisdiction. Um, but I like Burbank because he is a former military, former JAG, if you know what that is. That's a court military attorney. And he's been real active with trying to help military people, even in his private life, not so much in court, not like, he always rules for them, but he seemed to have a really good record. And I really appreciated that he was doing what he could to help military people. So those are the three I am voting for. And yeah, all of the rest of them I'm a no.
Well, I really appreciate that, Rebecca. So many people have been asking, what do I do for these judges? And it just seems there's not a lot of resources out there. So I
They're
appreciate you
really,
sharing. Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing those links and those places that people can at least do some of that research themselves. I think that's so important. And maybe in years to come, we'll see some more resources for people to really dig deeper into these judges and decide if they're worth keeping on the bench or not.
well, and one other thing that can be helpful is just to Google them. Google, Colorado judge, and some of them are not going to have anything there. All of them will have like the official judicial performance review, stuff that's boring. Um, but sometimes there are things there there might be a case that you cared about, and you can see which way they went on it.
Interesting. Well, awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. It was a great conversation and look forward to talking to you again. Maybe we'll touch base again in the future.
Sounds good, Brandon. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Rebecca.
Bye.